I'm 3T.
And I'm Mike Papa Foxtrot.
This is Freeloaders, which usually is our regular look at what is or has been free to download from the PlayStation Network.
We download the games and give them a play and see if they're worth the download, bandwidth and time.
In this second season, we looked at Steep, Hitman, The Witness, Conan Exile, Overcooked, Borderlands The Handsome Collection, Detroit Become Human, Sniper Elite 4, Batman Arkham Knight, MLB The Show 19, Nioh, and Red Bull Energy Supermaster Motorbike Official Book of the Video Game 3, The Revenge.
Oh, come on, 3T. I wrote that in capital letters for you.
I will do it clean, and you can edit it in. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game.
Do you think I'm really going to edit that in?
No, but I will enjoy that part.
I wrote it in capital letters clearly for you. Yes. I do have to say, basically, let me go back to the script. So shall we look at the games in order?
What script?
Of the games on offer from the PlayStation Network. What do you think was worth the most? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to say the one with the longest title up until October was the Major League Baseball The Show 19. And then we got the longest video game, and I have to emphasize it's a video game ever, with Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. And it annoys me slightly, I have to say, because I think video game is 2 words. I really do.
I think it is as well. Yeah, because there used to be a magazine called CVG, which was computer and video games. Yeah. That's not the way I find my grammar, but it's where
no. But I just have this sort of feeling that it's 2 words.
I think
anyway,
right.
So stepping aside,
yes.
What would you like to do? Shall we run through them? Most favourite to least favourite? What do you think?
What I'd say, because you've already organised them and I'm lazy, I reckon you should go through the order that you think was best to worst, and I will comment as and when it feels appropriate.
Okay. So best to worst. Okay, so I'm going to say the game which I think was the best so far, or the game that I've got my top 4.
Okay.
The top
Let's do that then, rather than all 12.
I haven't gone past that because it gets a bit cluttered and a bit confusing. Yes, and then I can also go from the bottom, from the worst to the best. But let's be positive. Let's go from top to bottom. So I think the one that I think I've so far had the most value out of was Sniper Elite 4. It was also one of the games that was the most surprising because it just came out of nowhere, not a game I'd heard of before, and it's a game that you and I have had, I would say, days, if not weeks of fun playing.
Agreed, yep. Definitely.
The one after that, the next one on my list, is The Witness. Which I really enjoyed, and again, I may not have put weeks into that, but I've definitely put days and days into it. Again, more of a solo game, whereas Sniper Elite is a game where I can enjoy playing it on my own, and in fact, just before this recording, I was enjoying trying to booby trap a convoy, literally. The Witness is a game that you have to play on your own, and I've managed to get most of the trophies for The Witness. The only one I haven't done is the last trophy, which is really, really complicated because you have to complete lots of puzzles all in sequence within a time limit, and it's quite difficult, and it becomes quite frustrating, so I'm afraid I have walked away for a bit. And then number 3 on my list is Hitman, and I really loved Hitman. Hitman is my kind of game. It's a game where I can actually sort of get behind it. Again, it's a solo game. It's not a game you can play while you're talking, as I think we discovered, because you do strange and silly things. And then game number 4 was actually Steep, which was the very first game we played in the year, because I liked Steep. I found it because it was an easy throwaway game.
Yes,
but it was not completely throwaway. As we discovered, you can have a sort of a racing game that looks good but has zero substance, whereas Steep looks good and actually has content. It's different. I mean, like, you can have a wingsuit, you can fly. Again, it's full of sponsorship, just like another particular racing game that we played was, but it actually had some kind of soul. After that, I'm afraid it diversifies. Yeah. And I struggle to actually to understand some of the games. For example, Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, don't understand the hype. Didn't get it. It wasn't a horrible game, just not my cup of tea. It was a nice shooting game, but it just wasn't there. And I think one of the biggest disappointments for me was probably Batman Arkham Knight, to be honest with you. Yeah, and I think the most surprising game, the game that I didn't expect to get any joy out of at all, but actually did, was, and I don't just mean just playing, with you, having fun against you. I mean, actually, the actual game's mechanics were quite interesting, was MLB The Show 19. Not a baseball fan, but actually could get behind that. So, that's my sort of that's my top 4 and caveats. What about you?
Interesting, because you said that, because my top 4, I would agree with the top 3. Your top 3 are my top 3. I think the problem is there's such a big gap for me between Sniper Elite 4 and everything else. But my 4th isn't Steep. Weirdly, thinking about it, it is MLB The Show. Because as crap as I was at it, I think with a bit more investment in just... If we played it continuously, I think we would have quite a lot of fun with it. It's there's a bit of fun to it, the understanding of the mechanics, because it's so different from anything else I think we've ever played or that I do play by choice. So yeah,
just working out the scoring system was like you needed some kind of degree in higher level maths.
But it wasn't forcing anything on you. It was it was nice and pick up and play. You could play it on easy. You could play it more complicated if you want. And it hung around on my dashboard, which we'll obviously get to later. But I would agree with your top 3 definitely, and maybe a photo finish for perhaps Steep and MLB.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I've just scanned across my dashboard, and obviously to make space, and I think I had to make space actually for Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. Yeah. I actually have lost Steep. I can't actually find it on my dashboard, which is a shame. Well, but I also don't have MLB The Show either. So there you go.
Perhaps we'll go into that.
Quick flick back through. Okay, so later, of the games then, 3T. Which games? We've got a top 4 or top 3.
Do you want me to do
We've
my
agreed on a
4?
top 3. Yeah, but yeah, go on. Go for your bottom 4.
All right, go for. You were full of positivity. I'll be negative. Okay. Least favourite.
Is it your turn to be negative this time?
I think so. Yeah. Let's do that. Least favourite, by a country mile, maybe because it's freshest in my head, is Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. It's a joyless, empty experience, and just doesn't have any excitement that the racing genre should present. I would say the next worst would be for me, just looking at the list, really trying to remind myself, because some of them I've forgotten. I really didn't enjoy Conan Exile. Very bland. I think it's one of those things that if you had the time and you had nothing better to do and you were really interested, I think it's the type of game. It's a survival game. You've got to really care, and it's similar to the next one actually on my list, Nioh, which is that you have to be. It's basically, I really like Zelda Breath of the Wild, but. That mechanic is there, so you're combining things, you're making survival stuff, you're making food, you're making clothes, you're getting yourself through this sort of wilderness, but yet there is something really bland about, and I like the character of Conan. I read the Conan comics. I enjoy the character, but it just, because you weren't him, I think, because you were just some random, I don't know. Anyway, that one, Nioh, for similar reasons. Nioh I just found frustrating. I don't know what's next. I think Batman Arkham Knight, but just probably because of, in personal reasons, I was disappointed, having been a huge fan of the series, and then got let down by Tank Commander. I don't know. Enough of my rambling. I mean, do you have a bottom four?
Well, I do actually, and they're very similar but different at the same time.
Okay.
Obviously, right at the bottom, has to go without saying, was actually offering number 12 in this season, which is Mez Tov. Which
good.
Is just
that will save us time.
Monster Energy Supercross, the official game. I mean, I think we said it. If it was on a mobile phone, you'd not want to have paid for it. It just didn't have anything going for it. Conan Exile, same kind of thing. It was like, it had no jeopardy, in the same way that the Monster Energy drink, or the Supercross or whatever, Supercross the game had no jeopardy. I mean, and yet you'd get stuck. I mean, I got stuck. I mean, that's terrible. It was an awful game, really. Again, had fun playing it. Same with Conan Exile, had fun playing it. Again, it was the person I was playing with. The game itself, like, you died and you just, oh, okay, I start again, and I wander over and I pick up my things and I fight the same people, and yeah. And then Nioh. Nioh, I enjoyed. I enjoyed it while I was playing it, but I never wanted to go back to it. And I think that is the basic line of a bad game. And then I struggle with number 4, because it's either Borderlands: The Handsome Collection or Detroit Become Human, neither of which I actually enjoyed, and yet are quite hyped up games. Like, oh, Detroit Become Human, it's a great game, and Borderlands, how can you not want to play it? It's fantastic. And I'm like, well, yeah, they were just...
I think here's an interesting point to be made then. We've talked about our top 4 and our bottom 4. I think the middle 4 are in that very strange position of Detroit Become Human is sort of is blandly good and well executed, but not particularly memorable. The Borderlands for me was it's an accomplished enough first-person shooter, but like you said, I don't get what the hype is. The Overcooked suffered from a lack of network multiplayer, because if that had network multiplayer, you and I would probably be playing that now.
Oh God, yeah, because it would have become Our Fat Princess.
Yes, it would,
when we feed the cake, because it was like, because that was a lovely moment where we took a break from shooting people to actually trying to feed people with cake. Yeah, and so that's fun. what it would have been. You see, for me, Batman Arkham, I'm going to come back to. I'm going to play the rest in the season and come back to. Yeah. But I do have written next to it, I have a little arrow, and it says disappointed. And the arrow next to the arrow next. I should take a picture of this and put it in the video, actually. And the arrow next to the arrow that links to Detroit Become Human reminds me that no football. There was no football in the summer. We were looking forward to football, and then right at the last minute, we had a football match ripped away from us. That's
right. Yeah, that could have been a brilliant episode, because I hate football, and I would have loved hating football.
Well, I mean, a video. We hated baseball, or we didn't understand. We didn't know anything about baseball, and we were surprised by it. And I think that would have been, because that would have been you and me, and we arranged it. I mean, I'm not saying we went out of our way to arrange it, but we arranged it so we were in the same room together. Yeah, we were like, yeah, we're going to play on the same console. We're going to have football. It'll be great. And it's Detroit Become Human. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Bland, but okay.
Yeah. But visually, like I said, visually an impressive game, a well-told story, a well-executed idea. And again, same with Borderlands. Can't actually say it had its own lovely image. It had its own, the vision was nice. But it's just a shooter at the end of the day. There was nothing in there that was like, ooh, amazing. Batman Arkham, I got your point. Once you were in the tank, you didn't. I just drove around. I didn't do anything else. I didn't play the rest of the campaign. I was just enjoying driving a vehicle around. But I can do that with Mafia 3, or I can do it with Grand Theft Auto or some other game. So
the previous Batman games, because of their enclosed nature, because you were in an asylum or in a certain part of the city, it was about being Batman. It was about doing a bit of detective work and being stealthy. But as soon as you're in the Batmobile, you're like, out of my way, losers! I'm in a tank, and it's not Batman to me. But
it did seem to be a little bit. I mean, I'm guessing it was put in because people, we want the Batmobile, we want the Batmobile.
Yes,
and then
careful
actually,
what you wish for.
But, it's not really what you want. So I mean, the ones in the middle are actually in the middle purely because they are. They're good, but they're not brilliant, but they're not terrible either. Overcooked, I've actually underlined with a dotted line. I still have Overcooked on my dashboard, and I have played Overcooked. I have played it with other people on other systems. I've even played Overcooked 2. And so I know it is a genuinely, absolutely fantastic party game. Because when you've got 4 chefs all shouting at each other, trying to get out of each other's way and trying to perform tasks, and there's been a little bit of liquid refreshment as well, it actually is a brilliant party game. And I can imagine it being for all ages, though if you've agreed to the latest terms and services, not below 7 years of age, so I can. That is a good game, but like I said, it lacked from that network, the actual network ability, which is the only reason why it didn't make it into my top 4 or 5. And I wanted to put it as 5, and then I said no because it's missing something. They've missed a trick.
They have. It's they've underestimated the appeal, or they didn't bother. So it's a shame. So that's. I suppose we've talked about how fun they are.
Well, we've kind of covered it as we go. But variety of game. What about you for variety?
I would say.
Do you think the variety, apart from the missing football game, what do you think about the variety?
As much as we have had a little moan about a few of these games, I can't fault PlayStation Network, who aren't paying us for this, for at least throwing a lot of variety at us. Like, going through that list, we've had a winter sports game, followed by a stealthy third-person, puzzle-solving stealth game, I suppose, Hitman.
Yeah.
And a genuine, very entertaining real puzzle game, a survival third-person game, a party game, a first-person shooter, a story-driven Dance Dance Revolution type game.
Murder mystery problem.
Murder mystery, exactly. But story-driven, I suppose, is the main part of that.
Absolutely.
Another sort of third-person action adventure shooter game, which involves you can play however you like. Sniper Elite 4, a Batman game, a licensed big name game, which actually did cost a lot when it came out. They gave us Batman, and fair play.
Tell your friends.
MLB The Show, a sports game that we wouldn't have tried otherwise. Nioh, again, a sort of Zelda type survival game, and a racing game
very similar to Bloodborne,
and amongst all of those, there were other options, there were other choices. We got Titanfall this year, Titanfall 2, which we obviously have yet to. Well, I have yet to touch, but. That came, there were a couple of games every month, and we had to make that decision. And I think there was enough variety that every month we had something very different to choose from. Whatever you can.
We didn't just pick the big name game.
No.
We were juggling to make sure that we didn't do like just all first person shooters or all the third person shooters or just all shooters. I have to say I sort of like sighed a little bit when we had to go with the baseball game. Oh no, not the baseball. But we were joking. Well, we didn't get the football game in the summer, so we'll go for. And then we're like, wow, this is actually. I don't understand this game at all, but this is a brilliant game. Wow, you can hit this, and we both had different control sets, and so it was. It was. The variety, I have to say, has been very. It's been very interesting and good, and we've had plenty of ability to choose and select and perhaps if we'd have done it again, we might have if we replayed season 2, we might have picked different games. There are a few games we would have dropped, and the top 3, top 4, bottom 3, bottom 4 would probably be slightly different.
Yeah.
But then, we had a good time along the way, I think, don't you?
Whatever else you can accuse PlayStation Network of, you can't fault that they have tried to give us plenty of variety. And I do feel, this isn't a sort of final point by any means, but I do feel that I've had my money's worth out of this year. So what about the games that are still on your system? You've alluded to Overcooked. Overcooked is still on my system as Overcooked stuck around because I think it was reasonably small as well. I did have a slight cull when we did because to download Titanfall and Monster Energy Supercross. I'll tell you the ones that aren't there. Supercross the game, Nioh, MLB I kept until Titanfall, debating putting it back on. Batman came straight off. Sniper Elite 4 is the most played one and is the first one on my dashboard. Detroit went off straight away. Borderlands I took off. I think I kept it for about a month and then we really weren't playing it. Conan disappeared. The Witness was again a space saver, but it will come back on. And I deleted Hitman and Steep as well, but they're not permanent. I think there's a couple that I would be tempted to put back on. I think The Witness is something that is just a nice calm one that I will bring back at some point.
It's a nice sort of Sunday afternoon puzzle solver where you sit there and you go, I don't understand this. Why doesn't this pattern make sense? And it's because you're looking at it completely the wrong way. Still on my. I don't have Steep. Steep got eliminated during a big download, unfortunately. But again, I can go find it. Hitman is still frustrating me. Still on the system, still frustrates me. I still go back to it. I find it nice. I've played missions loud, I play missions quiet. The Witness is still here. Again, I'm trying to get to the end of it. Conan Exiles, I think, was deleted instantly. Overcooked is still here. Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, I think, disappeared pretty damn quickly. It was just too big, really. I know that Detroit Become Human and all of its U2 extra weird content that came down that just filled up my PlayStation with nonsense got eliminated. Why do I want the music collection? Why do I want the additional extra, the behind the scenes, the extra cut? It's nice, it's good value, and it felt a little bit like we're very sorry that there's no football game. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a big A game, and we're going to give you all of the nonsense with it as well. I don't want it. Why can't I deselect it? Why do I have to download 4 massive things and fill my hard drive up with stuff?
We were both downloading off of the same broadband as well, so that took ages.
It was just so annoyed the hell out of me, I have to say. I was very angry. I think that was when I had to have a cull. I think that was when I lost Steep, actually, during that nonsense. Sniper Elite's still with me. Batman Arkham, unfortunately, has gone. In fact, the only Batman still on my system is Batman, the Telltale series. I took it away again. I can come back to it. I've got Batman. Arkham Asylum and Batman... Arkham City. I've got them on physical media that I can load up at some point and go through. MLB The Show got toasted during the having to download Titan and also the Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. Nioh got rid of almost instantly because it was just it was too frustrating. I think that was the problem I was having with it. It frustrated me. It didn't make me want to come back to it. And Monster Energy Supercross was got rid of, I think, in less than 24 hours.
We gave it a good go. We did. We had a few races just to make sure it wasn't just the tracks or the. No, it was the game.
It was the game itself. So I mean, I still have a few on the system, and the ones I have, I'm thankful for, and I'm very happy with. So with that, thank you very much for joining us with Season 2. We hope that you will join us for Season 3. And so, until then, I'm Mike Papa Foxtrot.
And I'm 3T. Thank you for joining us on our journey of free-to-play games on Freeloaders.
Goodbye.
Bye!